Oh, is this for John? I thought it was going to be for Mike. I was going to call you Mr. Marketing. I was looking forward to that. Yeah, well, anyway, Mr. Marketing told me to introduce this for John. And my question is, do you have a personal brand? And how healthy is it? We're going to discuss on today's Not So Critical Update.
So I'll start us like this. To me, it wasn't so much about the branding as the anonymity. I think that's where John was going with it too. So I'll let John take it over, but we'll fight it out.
I'm sure we'll okay, there, fine. Territory then. Sorry. Not sorry.
I guess the way it reads, it's like Gen Z has rediscovered anonymity and they love it and they don't want to be known. They want to be pseudo anonymous, like on Discord, which we have a server of.
Discord. Yeah.
You should join it.
Come be pseudo anonymous.
Discord, on Reddit, things like that. Less about personal identity, where the millennials and Gen Xers were making accounts with their names and their profile pictures is of their faces. Millennials Gen Z is more looking through funny meme like usernames, funny or just drawn up profile pictures, and staying anonymous in a, as the article quotes, good vibe and funny meme culture, which is so Gen Z. It's like, it's crazy actually, because they're all about the vibe. And I feel like totally? I'm Mike's age.
Yeah. I'm all about the vibe.
I'm all about this because, yeah, these corporations like Discord, sure, they probably know who you are and they have a lot of information about you, but potential predators, potential, malicious people don't know that much about you. And to me, that's really great. I think, anonymity is a great tool against the threats of the internet. The internet is and always has been and probably always will be, at least the open web, a kind of wild, wild west. Sure, they're trying to rein it in. They're trying to regulate it more, but really, like, it is a monolith. You cannot control the internet.
Interesting side note, which I know that you're going to appreciate, John. I think you probably already know about this, but Mulvad, talking about anonymity, I was thinking that as long as companies like Mulvad are around, there's always going to be a way to be anonymous on the internet. Mulvad is a VPN provider, and they recently announced that they are going to stop offering subscriptions because to do a subscription, you need to hold some information about the customer in order to repeatedly charge them. And they were like, that is not consistent with our policy of not retaining any information about our customers. You can, however, mail them cash,
yes,
and they will set up a subscription
with
for
your account number. And this is the only association to your account. You don't use an email or a password. They give you a randomized account number, and that is your login. So it's very, it's like a private key. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. So to bring it back to the story, I think as long as companies like that are around, and there's always going to be somebody who believes in privacy enough to start a company like this and make a little bit of money, I think it will always be possible.
And I think Mulvad is super profitable.
This is where I say, I hate it. I hate it. I think this is a huge problem. And I don't think it was this article, but I think there was another article we talked about in Discord. Join, link in description. About people wanting anonymous employment. They don't even want their employers to know their personal identity. They just want to have the job and get paid and not have to expose themselves even there. And I think, so you mentioned some of these small communities. I definitely can see why you would want what you referred to as pseudo-anonymity in a small community. But you have a reputation there. You're participating in the community. I think the bigger issue is that you can now, because of the way social media works, be an anonymous person, avoiding all responsibility, avoiding all consequences, and using that as cover to do all kinds of horrible shit online say whatever you want, impact the lives of millions of people, but because of anonymity, you can just say, "Oh, wasn't me. I can just do whatever the fuck I want," and then disappear into the shrubs, Homer Simpson style. And I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible. Like, I get there's cases where you want for protections for journalists and people in dictatorships, and like, I get it, but anonymity is the problem on the internet.
Okay, so I'm going to flip the script on you, Mike. I'm going to flip the script. Because you're public about your, let's say, political affiliation on the internet, and it is tied, all of these profiles are tied to your real identity, you can be targeted for voting for X or Y, or having an opinion on X or Y.
People are terrible. They'll do that for sure.
They will do that, but being anonymous or pseudo-anonymous protects you from that.
But I think people have to make that trade-off. If I want to be anonymous online, that's fine. I can keep my fucking mouth shut and keep to myself. Nobody will know who I am. If I want people to hear my message and listen to what I say and influence people, I feel like I have a responsibility to take some ownership of that.
But that's the whole thing,
disagree.
Right? I don't know. I think it might be just a growing up thing. At least for me, I've felt like I've never really hid my identity online, but I never really had that much contentious stuff to say. But like, even I didn't have my photo on Twitter, on my Twitter profile. I changed that recently, but I didn't want to expose everything. I always limited the amount of exposure I gave. And I think that if you want to go the full, like all the other way, then you should be able to. But most people kind of think, okay, as they grow up, they kind of move away from it. I think it should always be an option. I think it should always have the option to be completely anonymous if you want to be. But most people don't want that as they grow up.
I think it's a personal choice. I don't even think it's about maturity or age. I have many accounts online, some of which are tied to my real identity, and others are completely anonymous. Maybe I don't want my employer to see that I'm posting on a forum about video games. Maybe I'm insecure about my video gaming, so I don't want them to know about that, right? Like it's little things like that, because it's harmless. What would my employer care if I play video games? But in my mind, maybe I don't like it. I don't like them knowing that I play video games, and I want them to think of me in a certain way, so I hide that from them.
And maybe
what's wrong about that?
Then maybe to some extent, this is the difference between privacy and anonymity. Is if you have things that you want to keep private, absolutely do it, no problem. But if you're talking about anonymity, yes, anonymity will protect victims. It will protect people's identities who are at risk, but it also protects the bullies. It also protects the criminals. And it also protects the people who are cynical and manipulative and dangerous, that go out online and build these giant audiences who have no idea who they are because they have zero accountability for their actions and can get away with all kinds of terrible things.
I don't think that makes anonymity in itself bad. It's just, it's an element of the good and the bad.
It's a tool.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to the etymology of the word. I'm saying the way it's applied online is incredibly dangerous. So could I have
incredibly, but then it's also incredibly safe, and I think that there's just two sides to this coin, and you can either have, honestly, what you're describing is borderline eating my own words.
Totalitarianism.
That's it. Right, dictatorship like. Or draconian, where you have to track everyone and know everyone and what they're doing, versus protecting both good and bad people. And if you ask the United States government if it was willing to protect both, it would say no, we would rather protect none.
I think if you ask some people in the United States governments, they would say we don't want to protect anybody except ourselves.
Sure, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's about ripping
and
the whole veil.
I hear what you're saying. I think it's a pendulum, right? So we see this with a lot of justice movements. We have overreacted in one way. Now all of a sudden we need to realize, oh shit, we're on the wrong side of this, so we go too far in the other direction. I think looking at the net impact of social media tells me that we have erred far too much on the side of anonymity because people are able to have this. And I don't know, maybe even it's not necessarily anonymity because you think like there's nothing anonymous about certain political figures who have had major negative impact on our on our real world due to their social media presence. And so that's not a factor of anonymity, I guess. I just I think we've gone too far. I think it's gone too far. We need to find a better balance.
To tie it back to the article, maybe that's what it's all about, is that with an anonymous with anonymity, you can still build a brand based on something which is anonymous, but you can kill it off without any real repercussions other than the lack of, you'd have to start building it up again, a brand.
You can kill it off, but you can also abuse it.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what I'm pushing back against.
I'm trying desperately to bring it back to the article, Mike. Come on, give me a hand here.
Sure, but
the personal brand is dead.
Yeah, I agree. But what I'm saying is, you if you want to be anonymous, be anonymous. You can't be your brand can't be anonymity. Unless you actually are anonymous, and then you wear the Guy Fawkes mask and all that.
Oh, yeah. There was another article. There was another thing, not an article, but a Twitter thread about how Russian troll farms work. I think that's going to be another problem. If we do away with that anonymity, we're going to have real people who are basically just, AI-generated faces and AI-generated personalities, which are going to be the equivalent of anonymous people, but they'll look real. And this kind of like you'll, instead of kicking up an account and putting the effort into making like anti-Trump or anti-Biden or anti-whatever, some anti-stance and saying outrageous things and being a dick, you'll just fire up a botnet and create a million different fake accounts and do it that way.
This is already happening on Facebook and Twitter and identity-based platforms. Sure, Twitter is less so, as Twitter is more about, also you could just be completely pseudo-anonymous on there. But I shouldn't say completely pseudo-anonymous. I think that's an oxymoron. But you can be, sort of anonymous on there. Facebook, however, it's in the fucking name. It's all about your face in this big book of other faces and your identity and what you do and where you go and your location and your friends. It's all about that. And on there, it is known. What is it? Facebook themselves, I think, admitted that half of their accounts are fake.
No, half?
I think so.
Seriously?
Okay, I feel some live Googling coming on.
Live research.
Yes, I knew it.
Fuck it. Too alive.
Fuck.
This is always the best part of the show. We just do our research.
We've got to give the fans.
Facebook, sorry. Facebook dismisses the Aaron Greenspan report that half its users could be fake.
We're coming dangerously close to mentioning someone that would rather not.
This is Aaron Greenspan who studied. This is the same Aaron Greenspan who studied alongside the billionaire tech executive Mark and claims to have come up with the idea for Facebook first. So it makes sense that he'd be shitting on Facebook because he probably still has a tooth to pick with the big Zuck.
But even if it's 20% or 30%.
Even if it's 10% at 2.5 billion. So we're talking about $250 million of accounts. Imagine the damage you could do with 250 million accounts. Like
that was the whole thing about the Russian troll farms.
Right.
It was fascinating to read about how they kind of, they're really responsive. They're really advanced. There's a lot of fake profiles. They're adaptive as well. So if you post about Russia, then you're likely to get bots reply to you, but then they will drop off if after a certain time if your comments aren't, if they don't drum up engagement. It's like it's scary and easy.
Oh, when deepfakes become trivial technology and like all three of us could just be here and be Peter with his voice and his face, like that would be. I can't wait for that.
And I think that now that we're kind of pivoting,
then my wife would think I'm the best one on the show.
I think the important thing regarding deepfakes is to quickly figure out how to verify imagery.
I don't know if it's going to be
it's going to get to be
possible.
perfect
It's
at
gonna
some
be
point.
super
How would you
hard.
know?
Yeah, it's going to be really hard.
Well, I think it would have to be. You'd have to use some. I don't really know, to be honest, but
Yeah, I don't.
it would
I
have to
don't.
be a mix of hardware and software, and I imagine hashing. And
So you need to be able
If
to
we gave everybody,
validate the person's identity, so that they're
or
not
at least the
being
device, or at least the
anonymously.
device that it's being recorded on, right? Like
some
this is
kind
the
of
official.
digital
This is the
rights
official White
management.
House.
Yeah.
This is the official White House device, and
So you need to
it's
be
been
able to
recorded on this, so you
specifically
can verify that.
identify whether one specific person is valid or not. Specifically, who that person is, their identity, 100%.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth because
It
you
is.
want
I
to
heard-
loop it back to
what I heard
anonymous.
is that you want everybody to be
Anonymity.
implanted with a chip to verify their identity, and they can't do anything online. That's what I heard.
Okay,
Is that
but
right?
what can I
Did I
do
get
with
that
this
right?
chip? Can I like go to the grocery store and pay with it? Can I just
Swipe your
scan
head
it?
over
Yes.
the payment thing.
Boop.
Tap your chip
Does it
on
have an
it.
interface? Does it have an interface like, touch this twice and like, boom, I have like a HUD,
Yes.
All right, we're losing it. Okay.
Join the Discord server.
Okay.
It's totally anonymous, kind of.
Sort of.